Good evening, everybody. It is Thursday, May 6th, 2021. Joining us tonight, we have Jody Clegg. Jody's with Compass in Huntington Beach. And check out these statistics. 24 years in the business, $1,656,000,000 in sales, 1,757 transactions closed. That's a lot of deals. So, first of all, thank you, Jody, for being with us tonight.
Thank you for having me. Thank you. Yeah, I didn't know those numbers till today. So it makes me feel really, really old. I've been doing this a long time. That's the first thing I thought. I was like, that's impossible.
So let's start where you are now, and then we're going to work backwards. Mm-hmm. Which you team? Why don't you kind of give an overview of what it looks like today?
Sure.
And then we're gonna go back to the beginning. So what do things look like today on the Jody Clegg team?
Okay, sure. So we have five core people that, five that support mostly me and the team. So, you have we have an operations manager, Travis, he's amazing. We have an executive assistant. We have a full-time marketing director. We have a showing agent, and then we have a staging director as well. And then we have the rest are buyers agents, a combination of agents that have been with me a long time, and then two newer agents and one brand new. So we have a total of 13 on our team right now. Okay. Yeah, so it's gotten a little bit big.
And
not where it started.
And how many deals do you anticipate you're going to do this year?
Well, we're shooting for about 150, hopefully. Okay. Yeah. We did about that last year, so.
And what is your average price point?
About 1.2. It's probably a little bit more than that. I haven't checked, but it's around there. Mm-hmm.
And what's the Huntington Beach market like right now?
Well, it's crazy, but doesn't sound as crazy as it is when I'm talking with a lot of agents that are, in San Francisco and parts of LA. Well, parts of LA, there's markets that are way crazier. So we're busy. When you put a home on the market here, we generally have, we have maybe a handful of showings if it's over $1 million. Right away, but if it's under $1 million, we might have 20 or 30. We kind of have that same craziness. In what we call the lower price range is under $1 million, because $1 million is considered affordable now for Huntington Beach, very affordable. So people are waiting in line, and there's multiple offers, and that's happening here on that price point. But as you go up in price point here, we're not crazy like the rest of some of the parts of the country, or even California. So we're very, very busy, but it's we're not getting listings that we're getting 20 offers all the time, like some people are talking about.
Okay. So were you born and raised in Huntington Beach?
No, I'm from the East Coast. So I'm number 4 of 5 kids. So big Italian family right outside of Boston, and grew up in pretty much a poor little environment in a sense. So, but moved out to the West Coast about 30 years ago, a little bit more than that.
And what brought you out here?
Just really, I surf now, but I always want to be by the, in a warm climate. I love the outdoors, and I knew I wasn't going to be able to stay in the Boston area and have that kind of, lifestyle. So it was really about getting to the warm weather, and I always wanted to be in California. So it made it an easy choice.
Did you start in Huntington Beach, or did you start somewhere else?
No, I started in Redondo in Manhattan. I lived there for a little bit this was my early 20s. And when I really decided I wanted to buy my first home at 24, and then I bought several other homes. The first home I bought was in Huntington Beach, and that's kind of how I landed here. And then, starting a family too. So kind of twofold.
What were the prices of homes back
200,000. My first house was 200,000 in '89. Yeah. And, I tell my clients that all the time too. It's like prices have gone up 500%, 5 times, you know, so that same house was $1 million. So, yeah.
How is it that you were able to buy a home at the age of 24?
Well, I was just always the kid that worked all the time. You know, I worked from when I was in high school. Again, we didn't have money growing up, so I knew anything I needed from when I was 15 or 16 was going to come out of my pocket, not theirs. So I always worked, and I started saving money. I was in sales. I was in a sales company, you know, in my early 20s. It was automobile, but not sales on a lot. I worked for a credit union buying service. So I started saving, just putting money away. I always knew I wanted to own real estate. So, yeah.
And how did you end up becoming a real estate agent?
Well, because we, you know, at the time I was married, I'm divorced now, but we were buying and selling property that while I was working at another company, we were buying and selling, you know, fixing them up and selling. So I decided, why not sell, you know, what, I love it. I love the business. So why not get my license and help other people buy? And then I kind of stopped doing that part of it because, you know, you're just so busy selling to other people. I stopped buying my own real estate, really.
Probably. Day one in real estate, what were you thinking?
I was encouraged. I mean, you know what? I don't know why. I think I've always been curious. So curious, the word curious has come up so much, you know, in the last few weeks and forever, I guess, with Steve Scholl. But I felt like it was going to be a great thing. You know, I was excited about it. I wasn't thinking, am I going to make it? It was more like, I'm going to, it just might take some time. You know, I was excited.
Yeah. And how did you start getting business? What kind of things were you doing, you know, in that first year?
Yeah, so definitely old school. You know, back then you knocked on doors and you cold called, and that's what I did. And you worked the up desk. That's what you had, you know. So I worked for First
what the up desk is.
Yeah, I know. See, I'm aging myself so much. So the up desk was you waited for people to call on the newspaper ads that First Team would put out, because I worked for First Team. And I took all the up desk time that anybody would give me because I was a new agent. So that's how I sold my first home, I think, within the first month. It was probably shorter than that, maybe the first few weeks, but I was also there every day, taking the calls. I mean, I was willing to talk to anybody. And then I knocked doors, you know, and I found, like, I'm just going to pick 100 doors and I'm always going to show up. And part of that, though, which is a little probably different than what some people did, is before I really started knocking doors, I drove the area and I actually, like, mentally saw my signs, like, all around that street, all around those streets that I was knocking doors. And then a couple of years later, I started actually seeing my signs up. So I was like, okay, that really works. You can do that. Yeah. So I was definitely big on, like, having a vision and then putting it on paper too. So that was kind of how I started. I'm going to make so many calls. I'm going to knock on so many doors. Very old school. People, you know, don't do that now the same way.
And were you going to any type of training, or did the company have training, or are you figuring out on your own? Did you have a mentor?
Yeah, no training. No. Yeah, we didn't have training then. I don't know. Maybe you guys had training if you were in here for a long time, but I don't remember any training. It was like, figure it out. We would get faxes back then. Remember what faxes were, right? And all the questions that I would get from, like, an engineer, you know, I was like, I don't even know the answer to that. I don't know I don't know the answer to the question. So I would always have to go to other people and feel like, you know, just, you had to get your answers any way you could. Because there were no teams then either. There was, like, husband and wife teams maybe, but there were no teams that I recall at all.
And how many homes do you think you sold in your first year?
Gosh, I probably sold at least 15 or 20 the first year. Yeah. I know I was rookie of the year in the rookie of the year. Rookie agent of the year, but I can't remember how many I sold. Yeah. I never really was good at keeping track of numbers. The only, you know, throughout all these years, just like, I didn't know what I have done today. So I was like calling Travis. I'm like, have I sold maybe a little over $1 billion. He's like, well, you've actually sold, you know, so I don't know. I was never keeping track of the numbers. I should have, but I didn't.
And so you probably made some decent money in that first year.
I did.
And how were you feeling at the end of year one, if you can remember back then?
You know what? It's going to sound strange to say, but I kind of had high expectations for myself. I always have. So I don't want to say expecting it, but I really was expecting it. I expected to do better in a weird way. So that's the stuff that I've had to work on over the years. It's like, why do I always have to do better? But I felt like, okay, I could do better next year. So I was excited, but I felt like I could do better. So that's the honest truth.
The thing that comes through with you, you have such a work ethic. And is that something that you learned, something that you figured out? How did that develop in you?
I don't know. I mean, I could probably go back to my parents. I mean, I could say that, you know, my parents always worked so hard. My dad worked so hard. I also watched my dad do construction for a number of years and kill himself and get injured and then start selling insurance and do very well. So when I was in high school, I was like, this makes a little bit more sense. So I always knew I was going to work. And to me, that's still who I am. Now I have to find the other stuff that I have to keep balancing it with the things that I love to do. But I do go back to the work thing. Like I gravitate back to that. So I don't know. I was always like that. Even as a kid, I was a kid selling stationery to the neighbors and selling, like, you know, I would do a performance and we would charge for it because I used to dance and do gymnastics and stunts and jump off trees and things that they would be like, oh my God, you got to see what she's going to do right now. But that'll be $1, you know? So I would charge people for our shows. So I don't know. I've always loved what I do. So I do it because I love it. But the sense of doing well financially has always been a big part. So when people say, oh, I just do it because I love doing it, there's no way. There's no way I do it just because I love it. I do like making a lot of money, and I wouldn't do it if I wasn't making a lot of money at it. I wouldn't. I would just surf every day, all day.
So here you are 24 years later and still busting your butt and still have that work ethic inside of you. When you wake up every day, what do you think, you know, what take us inside your head in terms of how you view the day, the week, your life, what you're trying to do. You know, just give us a kind of an inside look at what's going on.
Well, I mean, hopefully this isn't going to bore everyone.
No, it's not going to bore anyone. Okay.
Well, somebody has to go like this. If you're like, this is no fun. You know what? I always woke up early, even as a kid. My thing was, you know, I have a ton of energy, more than anyone I know. Like, I don't know people who have my energy. So it's like, even sitting still is a little bit of work for me. So I've had to meditate. I've had to do yoga. So when I wake up, I have a lot of energy. So I've had to like ground myself a little bit in it because I really do want to jump out of bed and figure out, are the waves good? I want to go surfing. I still want to go skating all the time. Like, I have a lot of things, like even when I was doing yoga, I would take yoga and walk on my hands. You know, it's just like I'm a little bit of a child in a sense. So I have that energy. So when I wake up, I have to like ground myself with, okay, I wake up early, usually between 4:30 and 5. And then I do kind of make my notes. I have a cup of coffee. I change it up. Sometimes I meditate. Sometimes I bake something in my kitchen, which sounds probably crazy, but I might even bake for an entire hour because I just have to, that's like a therapy for me. Or I might do yoga, or I might ride my Peloton, but I'm not consistent every morning. Other than the consistency is getting up, making my notes, doing a little bit of reading, a little bit of meditating. And then the rest of it's kind of like, where's my energy going to go? So, but I do know the one thing that I time block for is the morning to get to the water, because I've realized that I need to, that I'm not balanced. Trust me, when I say balanced, everybody, you know, that's kind of laughable, but I'm balanced in that I make time for that, what I know is going to make me feel better in the day. And so I'm not going to be, you know, sort of all bottled up with it.
And do you target a certain time to be at work?
I do.
Or do you work from home, or what?
Well, I do work a lot from home, and then I used to go in the office a lot. Now I've sort of found myself not going in the office because with COVID, and I never went in all the time. I always loved the idea of working from home and then working on the road, and then, you know, going into the office now and then. I never have sat in the office very long. That's not really, I don't really sit anyway very long. So I go in there, I get some things done, and then check in with everybody. And then I'm off to either appointments or finishing up stuff from my home. So I don't have a set schedule. I will admit that. I try to go in on Mondays because we have our Monday morning meetings, and I want to touch base with our core staff. But again, I'm going back to that again. And the days of my time blocking is most of, you know, my executive assistant, she knows kind of when to book me and when not. So I have a little bit of time blocking for sure, but I don't have a set schedule.
Do you remember when you got your first assistant?
Well, I did right away, because within a couple of years I was really, really busy. So I did get an assistant right away. And the big thing that I remember most, so it was really when I needed more than one assistant. And it was a year that it must have been, gosh, I don't know, 15 years ago or more, because I only had one assistant for a long time. And I had done 90 million, and this was a long time ago. So that was a lot of money back, a lot of volume back then. And at that time it was about 90 homes, and I only had one assistant. So it was like crazy making. I mean, just, you know, just to exercise was like, that means I can't sleep anymore. So yeah, I remember that, but I got an assistant pretty early on. I knew I could never do everything. And then I really realized I couldn't even do what I was doing.
How have you ended up with a team of 12? What, you know, was it on purpose? Was it organic?
Well, yeah, I mean, so, you know, over time, you know, you just realize that you know, it's kind of been a mixture of things, some guidance from other people, always open, still open, like listening to so many of the calls. I, you know, learned something from I half the time think I need so much work myself because I'm listening to how everybody has this great organization and structure. And I winged it a lot. I mean, I've been winging it a lot to get to this point in a certain way, but then with some direction too. Just knowing, okay, now maybe, you know, I need a buyer's assistant, I need a buyer's agent, then realize I need 2 buyer's agents. And like, well, wait, maybe what about my marketing? And then what about somebody who can handle the operations? It was a little bit organic for sure. And not without a lot of trial and error. I mean, I can say for sure that it was not, again, I listen to some people who speak and it sounds like they really had it systemized so well. Mine has been, okay, wait, I put somebody in the role and it was like, that's an awful decision. And so then we would have to change it. And either they didn't work at all or we would find somebody new that would be the better fit. I don't know. It took a while. So now I'm really happy with our team right now. Not that they're all going to stay, but I hope they do.
And what is it that you think you do best in real estate?
Care. I think I care. I would say that's the biggest thing. I also have a lot of energy with that care. So I'm able to take action where I'm able to listen. It's like last night, my last call was, you know, a lady, they were canceling escrow. And so I got on the phone with an 80-year-old lady and we just talked till, you know, late at night because I knew she needed the right person on the other end of the phone. And everything's fine today. She's not canceling, you know, she's not divorcing her husband. Anyway, so I don't know. I care. Not that that's a good example, but maybe.
It's a great example. And so when you say you care, what does that mean for you? How do you demonstrate that? What are examples of caring?
Well, I think I just care about I know I'm good at what I do. And so I know I can make a difference for other people. So I care enough to like really go through the motions of like listening to them. What are their needs? Really taking note of that, putting that first, making it a priority, that we're much more about taking care of them than we are about selling, so that they really feel like when you use the word trusted advisor, it like trusting and caring, like I'm empathetic, and so I think that along with my drive and my drive, because of my confidence, like I'm confident that I'm going to help people. And I think that the confidence with that care is where people, you create trust with that, because they trust that you're going to be there, you have the energy, but you also care about them along the way. And then you have the experience. So I don't know. I couldn't say that I have one thing, but I think of the care and the energy I put into it, the passion, as being two big ones.
And why do clients hire you? What, is the reason changed over the years as, the track record got bigger and bigger, or are they still hiring you for the same reason they did on day one?
I think they still are for the same reason, but I've learned a lot I will say this, I've learned so much from Steve. And I've been working now with Steve for a year and a half, in this group for a year and a half. And I've been mostly silent on the calls, because I don't love to step into like the frying pan, because I'm already like working really hard. So it's like, I don't want to like step in and then have to be like, I don't want to answer more questions, So I've listened to so many of you that step into that, and kudos to you. And you've all taught me a lot. I've been inspired by everyone who's really been in this seat. But I think I do the same things, but maybe with a little bit more experience and more maturity and more years of just, maybe I'm going to say things a little differently. I'm going to listen a little bit better. I mean, the same reasons, I think, because people knew I cared back then. And I always was such, I guess I was an achiever. I've always been an achiever. So they feel that sense of achievement, that they're going to be like we're going to be part of the same team. And that's one thing that I really kind of try to emphasize with my own team, is that you want to feel like you're together with it. Like and I've never sent the message that I want to help people that don't want me to help them. It is so easy for me to go like that. I do not want to help anyone that doesn't want to be helped by me. And I never have pushed for that business. So that part of it has made my business really a good one, because I take this much business on that I don't like. And it's usually by mistake, because maybe I just didn't sniff it out well enough up front. But that same, I would say that same people who care, that I care, and then people who are going to we can work together as a team. And that's still how I do my business. It's just now gotten better, fortunately.
Talk a little bit. In my opinion, what I've tried to work with you on, when we first started working together, I felt like you were running an adult daycare center, and you were just trying to take care of, anybody who wanted to be around you. You invited them in, and you wanted them to do well, and you were just trying to be nice to everyone who was on your team. And you
I'm
were
a bit of an appeaser. I want people, I want the best for people. I want most of the time more for them than they want for themselves. And that's hard. It's hard. I've done that with friends. I've done that in a relationship. I mean, it's kind of you feel kind of like, why am I wanting so much for you when you don't want it, right? So I think that's really tough. And I've had to really sit back with that and get a little bit more, okay, relax. Like, they just don't want it the way you want it. And so we've had conversations, and then there's been people where I've had to really sit down, and thankfully, because of Steve, I mean, I just didn't really want to cut the cord with a lot of people. It was like family, and everybody just felt so good, and we're still celebrating together, and everyone gets their little contest awards. And I would reward you for like tying your shoes right. I don't know. I just really wanted people to feel comfortable and happy. And that's, you know, I'm absolutely an appeaser. So, you know, that's probably another reason why people hire me. They're like, she's going to do whatever we want. But that's not true. But yeah, so I've gotten a little tougher. Thanks to Steve.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. What I'm watching you is now you're becoming much more strategic and evaluating, all right, why is this person really here? Are they going to make a contribute, you know, are they going to make a valuable contribution? If they don't want to learn, like, you're always trying to learn, you're always trying to grow, you're always trying to get better, you're always, you know, looking for some way that you can be better, you know, as a realtor and a human being. And I think now you're starting to say, okay, I only want people on the team that want to, you know, if I want it more than they want it, then they shouldn't be on the team.
Right.
Thoughts?
Yes. And now I'm really coming around with that. And you've been the biggest, you know, help with that, just like really making sure that I'm always at 6% now, and really speaking to the things that, like, I would brush over things because I was so busy that it would be okay that everybody else did very little and I did the bulk of things. And that's kind of how what my household was like that forever, and still kind of is in its own way. So yeah, I'm getting better at that. But we've also now brought on people that really, we've got some really great new agents that have great drive, they're committed. And now I'm able to see more clearly that that's much better for us, that we want people really committed and that really take it seriously. They may not ever have my energy. And I think that might be, I don't expect that, but I do expect them to be, you know, at a certain level.
And last thing I want you to comment on, I think this will be a good one, you know, just how hard it is to be a boss. You know, you know, from your perspective, you know, you're this agent, you're driven, you're motivated, you're on it. You know, managing you is probably, you know, that it's something you do very well. Being a boss, being a manager, being a leader, what are the challenges for you every single day in doing that?
Well, I think my goal is to get better and better at it and to improve every day. So I love that we talk about that all the time. How do we improve? You know, get better every day. And so for that, with me, my goal is also to become a better leader every day, have a better team, and to really deal with it. But try, you know, I have tried to not take things so personally. Now, if somebody is going to leave, or this is going to happen, or that's going to happen, it isn't a reflection of me anymore. You know, I've been able to let go, right? At least as best as you can, but it is a juggle. And, you know, you're dealing with a lot of emotions. You know, people have bad days, whether it's part of the core team, and maybe I might, you know, even though I'm nice pretty much all the time, I would say there's times I'm just like, oh my God, we need this, we need that, you know, typical real estate, like, and, you know, they got to deal with my energy too. So, you know, it's tough. It's tough. It's a work in progress. I would say I am personally a work in progress every day, and I'm happy to be that. It's, I guess, how you enjoy life, though, is kind of being okay that you're a work in progress. And that's how our team is. We do a great job. I think our clients love us. We do an amazing job. Our ratio is like the highest list to sale price ratio, shortest days on the market. So we know we're doing phenomenally, but behind the scenes, there's a lot of work to running a team. Absolutely. Lots.
Oddball question. When you're out surfing, are you thinking about real estate, or do you ever?
Never, no. And that's why I set aside that time. So, you know, the only, for me, that's just, I really am a huge believer, and that's why I'm always trying something new, even with like surfing. I got a new board last week and I want to ride a different kind of wave in a different kind of way. And so I love it. I love it. I light up. That's my, you know, my therapy. And generally, once I'm doing something I love, when I go skating, I do the same thing. You know, I turn it off. I absolutely turn it off. I do not want to know any. And if somebody paddles over to me about real estate, I go, yeah, not now. I just paddle away and yeah.
Beautiful.
So you have to turn it off.
You are an incredible human being. I love your smile. I love your energy. Love your attitude. I want to thank you for being online tonight. Thank you everyone for being here. And we will be back in the morning at 8 a.m. Everyone have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Jody.
Thank you, Jody.
Have a good night. Thank you all.
Thank you, Jody.